And I don't think there's anybody in football who thinks that Kyle Shanahan can't coach. I mean, everybody thought he was a genius a year ago. So it's not like he became stupid.
Look, here's the thing. He absolutely can coach. There's no there to try to talk about this guy's not a good coach.
Well,
he might not be a good head coach. And that is something that still needs to be proven. He might not be the, leader of men that NFL teams will be turning to, but an actual X's and O's guys, there's no denying that he's got that. There's no denying it. As someone who should be picking all the ingredients and cooking the stew all by himself, the jury's still out there. Very much so.
Well, I don't think the problem is, can he coach somebody up? The problem might be, did you pick the right guy? That's the debatable part. And it's not just the quarterback. He's had sort of results in drafting. But, he's the guy who, has found guys who looked like they were never going to matter in the league. I mean, he got more out of Raheem Mostert than anybody else thought he would get. That's coaching somebody up.
I think he got more out of C.J. Beathard than most people expected. I think he got more out of Nick Mullins than most people expected.
See, I think he can coach. Yes, he can coach. I think so. So I think that's entirely a red herring. The question right now is, what kind of team is this until its quarterback gets both his feet beneath him, and when he's got a full roster? Now, maybe he doesn't get a full roster at all. Then Kyle Shanahan will have to improvise. But he's improvised before. I don't think this is about coaching. I think this is about, these are the circumstances you've got right now, and you lost your opener. So what are you going to do about it?
But they're very much circumstances of your own doing.
Well, I think the quarterback thing, yeah, but I don't think...
Oh, all of it is. All of it. There's not an element of the 49ers that isn't a straight line right back to what Kyle Shanahan wanted and wished for.
Okay, but was that the reason they lost on Sunday? Because Kyle Shanahan got it wrong? I don't think so. I think the defensive players failed to do their job.
I don't think
that's coaching.
I think the defensive players did fail to do their job, and whether or not that's coaching, there's a debate there. But I hear the point that you're making. I absolutely do.
I mean, it's one game, and it is fascinating to me that every time the 49ers lose a game, it is somehow because Kyle Shanahan is inadequate.
I did not like the game plan, though. I really didn't. I did not like that offensive game plan. I didn't like either the situations that created him totally abandoning a passing game, or the fact that it wasn't the conditions at all. It was a lack of faith in the passing game, therefore he abandoned it. And there were way too many my quarterback is running with the football by design plays for any palatable conversation about, player safety means anything to me. I mean, it's you cannot be risking your quarterback of the future like a tailback, and he's running that guy like a tailback, the same way he did with Deebo Samuel.
He ran him like that. Yes, again, we talked about this on Monday. You can't take anything of substance from that game, with the singular exception of the fact that the defense was very undisciplined and not very good in the second half against the team that you should be able to strangle. I think that's got to be remembered. You can't draw anything off that game, because I don't believe that he's going to want to run Trey Lance 13 times a game. I don't believe that.
So that brings us back, I think, to how important week 2 really is. Because if we all agree, like week 1, straight up mulligan, this is the week that then matters. This is the set the tone for the rest of your year. This is the show 49er fans what you really got in this team week against an opponent that you thought you were better than before the year started, and that's a home game for you. By the way, Pete Carroll really feeling himself today, just jerking Steve Rabel's chain around, and Rabel will now join us at 4:15. That's fine. He's our only guest for today. We can keep on pushing back. We're good. We can see how the defense sets up, and we can call the right audible.
And the truth is, Steve Rabel given a choice between us and the head coach of the team he is the radio analyst for, we're not winning that.
Well, look, he talks to that guy every week, every day. It's a rare opportunity. He gets to talk to us maybe, twice a year tops?
I don't think we've ever gone to him before, so once tops.
I think I've definitely.
Well, maybe you have.
Right.
But.
Well, maybe it's you then. Maybe it's you.
I can go sit in the lobby for a while. I'm good with that.
No, we're not going to let you out of work, right? This is Brian in Napa. Brian, you're on 95.7 The Game. Oh, hold on for a second, Brian. I forgot to tell everyone. Welcome, indeed, to your 4 o'clock hour.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app. Damn well better be free.
All right, Brian in Napa. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Excellent. Thank you.
Good. Previous preseason, I remember Shanny was going back and forth between Trey and Jimmy kind of almost every possession. I was kind of wondering, what about like a 70-30 split where you take some pressure off of Trey, you let Jimmy start the game, you let him go out, and at the right time, you bring in Trey, let him get some possessions. If a game's a blowout, you can also get some PT that way. I just kind of think there's more than one way to skin a cat here. Like, let's get this guy some reps, some live reps in the NFL game.
Well, here's the deal. Brian, I hear what you're saying, but that's a formula that if you tried to sell it to me last year, I would have bought it. But you can't say that this guy's our man now, but we're going to go with the opener. Jimmy's going to be our opener? No, you can't do that. Here's the thing. Did they prematurely make the decision to go with Trey Lance because they thought Jimmy was gonzo, and that's the only reason why they made it? If the only reason why they said Trey Lance is our future is because they thought Jimmy was out of here, then that is a huge problem. I don't know if that's the truth. I don't know if that's where the problem lies yet. We'll find out as the year goes along, I guess. But Mike Martz, again, some savage, definitive statements coming from a guy who was a bit of a quarterback whisperer, had the reputation when he was a coach. Mike Martz saying that he doesn't see anything in Trey Lance that translates to what he thinks of a quarterback needs for NFL success.
I watched him coming out. There's nothing that I saw in him that relates to the NFL at that position. But like I said, I'm limited in what I've seen, so I get all that. They've seen him. They know. They've got all the information. And I trust Kyle and his ability, and certainly John Lynch is beyond reproach in my book. So they know more than I do about it. But from my observation, I don't get it. Just don't get it. And maybe they're going to change what they do on offense to fit him. That certainly is a possibility. But, in the meantime, you got to win games. That's the bottom line.
Mike Martz talked about how he had high expectations for Trey Lance, and they just weren't met. He was on with Willard and Sean Salisbury, who was in for Dan Dibley today.
Just listening to what everybody said, I was really anticipating more than what we saw, of course, in that game. So I don't know what he is, and maybe he's one of those guys that's going to take a few years. But in the meantime, they've got a really good football team. So what do you do, right? So hopefully they can win while he develops and comes along, and if he doesn't, then I think they probably would need to make a change.
Talking about making a change after 4 quarters.
See, that's the insanity of this. And the only thing that is a sensible retort to that is Kyle Shanahan is a stubborn guy. He's made up his mind that Trey Lance is his quarterback come hell or high water, but just short of 10 weeks of terrible football. There shouldn't be any talk of who's going to quarterback next week. This is Trey Lance's job to lose, and you don't lose it in 4 quarters or 8 quarters or 12 quarters. Kyle Shanahan was screamed at last year after 8 games. You've got to sit Garoppolo. You've got to sit Garoppolo. He didn't sit Garoppolo. They ended up going 7-2 down the stretch. Kyle Shanahan is not coming off this. And so this screaming for, oh my God, this could happen at any time, I think is profoundly misguided.
Well, it seems like they don't understand the situation. I mean, that's what it really is. Like, not only does Mike Martz not have a very good working template for who Trey Lance is. I mean, who among us really does? Nobody. Is such an unknown. He is such an unproven raw talent And I think, with a whole bunch of sodium pentothal coursing through his veins, Kyle Shanahan would tell you, yeah, I have made a huge calculated gamble. And whenever, gambling's not called investing. You don't know, and by the way, investing is kind of gambling, but it's called gambling because you might lose. And the gamble that Kyle Shanahan has made here might be a loser. But 3 years from now, what do you got? I mean, I know that Josh Allen had a lot of what we're hearing about Trey Lance attached to him early on in his career. There's no quarterback but for maybe Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert that the Buffalo Bills would even take a phone call on for Josh Allen. He's so valuable and has turned into such a great NFL quarterback. Guys need time. Guys need seasoning. It feels like the media, in the name of feeding a constant media beast, has sort of forgotten how football teams work. When an awful lot of their statements about how the Niners are not about to work is grounded in, well, that's not how football teams work. You can't have it. That's not how football teams work in terms of this quarterbacking room, and then not understand who Kyle Shanahan is, where the Niners are, the gamble that he's made, the bet that he's making. This is not a short-term payoff bet. Kyle Shanahan is trying to hit a 6-team parlayer here. This is not a one-leg experiment.
No, it's not a one-leg experiment. And you've got the template of last year. Jimmy Garoppolo was you couldn't get $1 for worth of people to say Jimmy Garoppolo should finish the season as the starting quarterback. Except that Kyle Shanahan said, no, he's the guy. Now he said that Trey Lance is the guy. And it amuses and amazes me that one game in, people are screaming about this like it's a hot button topic. When in fact, the head coach, who's the only guy who gets a vote here, is not coming off this guy. He's not coming off this guy when the bye week hits in week 8. He's thought about this an entire offseason. This is the plan he's got, and he's not coming off the plan. Trey Lance is going to have to play his way out of the job, either by having to limp off or be awful. And not just not very good, I mean awful. And if he's not awful, he's going to stay in the job.
You know what I think is another part of the gambles that are being made here, which feels like, well, you don't need to gamble there as well because you're at a first-time, very little experience quarterback. Why you would go with a first-time, no experience as a quarterback coach in Brian Griese, that feels like a gamble to me.
Well, that might be because, unless Brian Griese is a great teacher, Kyle Shanahan must look at him.
Well, and again, how could you know anyone's a great teacher when they've never taught a class?
I understand that. What I'm saying is he must think that Trey Lance's fundamentals are sufficient, that all Griese really needs to work with him on is knowledge of the playbook and help with receiver reads. Because if you're asking to take a guy and say, we're going to build you from the ground up, well, I don't know that a first-time quarterback coach is the answer either. So what I suspect here is that Kyle Shanahan believes that Trey Lance is further along than everybody else because he's seen more of him than everybody else. And he knows more of what he wants from him than anybody else. And 49er fans who are already fallen into the trap of give us the guy who's not playing are already in it at record speeds. I mean, they're not going to enjoy this year at all.
No
matter what. They have succeeded in doing the thing that makes them the happiest, which is making themselves miserable.
Somebody from the 510 on the Comcast Business text line says Trey Lance is no Josh Allen. Well, 3 games into Josh Allen's career, Josh Allen was no Josh Allen. He just wasn't. Josh Allen went from being the guy that Just doesn't have enough of a completion percentage to ever really be counted as a true NFL quarterback to a guy that, again, is on a tier of untradeable that very few quarterbacks ever reach. By the way, if you would like an untradeable quarterback battle, the untradeable quarterback battle of all battles is happening tonight on Thursday Night Football. Patrick Mahomes. Like, look at it this way. Justin Herbert is so good, the Chiefs would maybe even listen to a conversation about him. Now, I'm very sure that they like Patrick Mahomes, and they have a lot of reasons to like Patrick Mahomes. But this is something that Josh Dubois dropped, and he dropped some very interesting statistics. Most passing yards in first 33 career games. Patrick Mahomes, 9,925. Justin Herbert is at 9,629. We're talking about two of the greatest starts to any quarterbacking careers we have ever seen. And they meet on Thursday Night Football tonight in a place where some people are going to be very upset to find out where it is, because for the first time ever, it's not on over-the-air television, it's not on cable television, and that is going to upset some people when it's all said and done. We're going to talk about all of that